So, the fair is over and I gave myself 2 days this year to visit the HighEnd 2024 show in Munich, but even those 2 days were by no means enough to see everything. The HighEnd is truly a huge fair. I definitely didn't see everything, but this year my goal was also more to make contacts and talking to manufacturers. Nonetheless, there were some highlights that I don't want to withhold from you. I want to share my highlights with you in 5 categories. The first one is the utopian dream. The second one is the best new discovery. The third one is the best challenger of my convictions. The fourth one is the best budget speaker. And the fifth one is best of show highlights, the top of the top, so to say. And lastly, there will be one more thing to make you smile. And I have to make a statement in advance. For me, YG Acoustics is in a league of its own. The room has been incredibly good for the past 3 years, actually. And YG, I could see this year, also sounds fantastic with Boulder Electronics. The previous year, it was with Burmester, also superb. And even their smaller active system was really great. They have really done a great job in dialing in their system to the difficult room on HighEnd. So just to mention that beforehand. Also important to note when listening to what I say, what I describe here are impressions. It's not a review, it's not a final assessment or anything of that nature. Please keep that in mind when listening to what I have to say. So, utopian dream. Here I have to talk about the Vivid Audio Moya M1. Just the appearance alone definitely caught my attention. The speaker is enormous. The piece weighs well over 300 kilograms. But Lawrence Dipti, the leading figure behind Vivid Audio, told me in a conversation that they are working on reducing the weight just a bit by optimizing the production process. The speaker consists of 5 individual parts that can be transported separately and assembled at the destination. This allows these colossi to be moved through narrower staircases, for example. However, before assembling them in an old building, I think it's advisable to first check the ceiling statics. There are 4 levels with bass drivers, and then there's a 5th panel, the front panel, with the remaining drivers that make up this 4-way Dream speaker. The drivers are equipped with, on the back with an exponential dampener to remove resonances, which Lawrence Dipti impressively demonstrated. He also found a solution for the bass, but unfortunately, and I'm really sorry for that, I didn't fully record the explanation. Apologies for that, but here's the video.
From an open circuit to a short circuit, and the frequency halves, but basically it's still as resonant. If I now put the exponential damper on, you'll hear that resonance just goes away. And that very same ideal termination works when you put it directly on the back of the driver. We have exponential tubes on the back of all our drivers. The HF mid, upper mid, low mid. I should say in the low mid, the exponential dampers are up the side.
And a really cool thing for me personally, even though important press was present, they fulfilled a title request for me, very kind of them, and I was able to sit in the best seat in the room just to listen to that title. And you won't be surprised that it was Nathalie Merchant's the Peppery Man, and the voices on that track were lively and authentic, and even in that disastrous exhibition room, there was a beautiful soundstage, and especially the voice of the singer to the right, this huge, deep male voice that came across with such an authority that it was truly a delight. When the percussion and then especially the bass drums kicked in, you could tell that you were dealing with a massive speaker here. The chosen form, which in my interpretation skillfully disguises the sheer size of that speaker, is just beautiful, I would say. There's certainly much more visually invasive specimen out there in that category of speaker. The Moya M1 makes you crave more and thus earns, well deserved, its place as the utopian dream on the list. Next up is the best new discovery. And here I have to talk about the company Dipti and their DP160 Mark II, which is a planar speaker. It's a French company and they are in the area around Toulouse. It was one of the last rooms that I visited before leaving the fair, and I didn't know what to expect. I have never heard of that manufacturer before. They have a patented system with which they drive the ribbon or the membrane in both directions. They call it push-pull bipolar magnets. The mylar membrane is constantly in the magnetic field, and typical for ribbon or membrane speakers, it is extremely fast. The high frequency driver is a proprietary a ribbon tweeter, which is developed in-house and is also working with a mylar membrane. As a dipole, it radiates into the room both in front and behind. These systems are said to be not quite easy to set up in a room, and due to lack of experience, I have to say that I can't judge that because I've never had such a type of speaker here in my listening room. Here again, I was able to listen to Nathalie Merchant, and the reproduction of all the voices was truly excellent. It was remarkable. The naturalness these speakers offer really appeals to me. It's something that I like a lot. But what really surprised me was the bass reproduction of those speakers. From such a thin speaker, it looks like just a thin sheet of metal actually. It's built of steel on the outside. I wouldn't have expected that much substance in the bass. And even before I requested the track from Nathalie Merchant, I was already looking around for subwoofers in the room. Even Nagra had supported the large Stenheim reference speakers with 2 subwoofers to each side in their particular room. However, I searched in vain in this room. On the manufacturer's website, they state about the DP160 Mark II that they have a low frequency of 30 Hz, which I have to admit I immediately believe after having heard them. And now what it does to me is it really makes me want to hear their reference system, which is supposed to play down to even 22 Hz. With its natural and rich reproduction, the Dipti is my new discovery of HighEnd 2024. And you should definitely give it a listen if you have the opportunity to do so. Now let's move on to the best challenger of my convictions. And as you may or may not know, I'm one of those who typically say no or nay to DSP. So I was quite skeptical when Markus Grelka urged me to listen to the Pure Accurate Sound project, in which he is involved. This is a fully active system. The speakers were built by Markus, and from what I've seen, it looks like excellent craftsmanship. I love wood as a material, especially solid wood in furniture construction. However, it's far more difficult to work with than, let's say, veneered MDF, and it brings its own set of challenges. What I saw here, albeit briefly, demonstrates precision and craftsmanship. When we come to the drivers, purified drivers are used, including, as a world's first, if I understood it correctly, their 10-inch woofer. And the drivers are definitely worth seeing, just for the bed alone. It looks really interesting. The crossover of this active speaker is fully digital, with each section, so low, mid and high, driven by its own amplifier. So only the speaker cables and the internal wiring sit between the amplifiers and the drivers instead of a complex crossover network as you have it with passive speakers. The amplifiers are also custom built based on the Purify Eigentakt Class D reference boards. There are 3 amplifiers, one for the left, each with left and right channel for the high frequencies, the mid frequencies and the low frequencies. And they each get their signal from an 8-channel digital to analog converter from Octo Research. Each amplifier is responsible for a specific set of frequencies only, and the converter also only sees those frequencies for each of the channels. This is realized through a configuration for Roon, which is used as a streaming software in that case. The whole setup was tuned and configured using the software Accurate, which includes room correction, crossover, phase correction, and timing. I'll leave the technical details here. You can inquire further with the manufacturer. What interests me primarily is what I hear. And what can I say? Damn good. The bass reproduction in the room was truly phenomenal. All, and I mean what I say, all demonstrations at the fair struggled with room modes and bass reproduction. However, the Pure Accurate Sound project managed to handle them exceptionally well and delivered a definition and resolution, especially in the bass, that is unparalleled at the fair. I tested it, for example, with the track Black Mambo by Glass Animals, and I can say it was top-notch. Even the soundstage, the instrument separation, etc. were excellent. For example, I listened to a number of classical pieces that got a great stage into that small listening space. You could really distinguish between the first and the second violins, the cellos and so on. This was really remarkable. So I definitely cannot stick to my blanket statement no or nay to DSP until I have delved deeper into that system, which I intend to do in future. Therefore, I crown this system as the best challenger of my convictions on HighEnd 2024. And now I want to move on into a different category, which is the best budget speakers. And here I have to talk about the HiFi-Tom bookshelf speakers. Unfortunately, I don't have the model number or the model designation, and I don't have many details either. After one of the reps at the booth left me standing in the middle of our conversation, I honestly also had little motivation to do a lot of research here. However, there is no Most Unfriendly Booth Stuff Award, but rather the Best Budget Speaker Award. This small bookshelf speaker, and you see it in the video, it's like really small, yeah? It's a small box. They fill the room with sound. Despite, I would say, elevated volume levels, they still sounded very pleasant and offered a surprisingly great bass foundation, especially given the size of the speaker. The bass reflex port, which is opened down, so it's a down-firing bass reflex speaker, makes this possible. And for just 1,500 euros, I'd say it's definitely worth giving this little speaker a look. And now with a wink and a little smile to the folks at HiFi-Tom. I know I'm completely insignificant and I have been just an ordinary fairgoer, but don't leave your potential clients hanging mid-sentence. Next time, I'd be very happy to provide a more detailed report. But now, finally, drum roll. We come to the best of show highlight, and this is more than well deserved, and it goes to a small manufacturer from Rosenheim, Germany called Audias, and the speaker that they've demonstrated is the Opera Grandeza. I first encountered the manufacturer Audias at the HighEnd show in one of the past years. I can't exactly recall the year or which speaker was playing at that time. This year, Dr. Weber, the founder and owner of the company, brought his latest creation, the Opera Grandeza. In comparison to its sister, the Opera Diamond, the Opera Grandeza not only uses a diamond membrane for the tweeter, but also for the mid-range driver. While diamond membranes in general are not new, they are in this particular case. The Opera Grandeza features Accuton's brand new 90mm diamond membrane, which is truly impressive. Dr. Weber proudly shared that there are no measurable distortions in the high and mid-range. And I can really tell you from the bottom of my heart, with all honesty, the result, what I heard, is remarkable. I also probed him a bit in our conversation, for example, about the unusual, almost extravagant design of the cabinets. Doesn't the sharp edge near the tweeter and the mid-range driver risk diffraction effects and halos? I couldn't surprise him with that question at all. The distance of the tweeter from the edge is precisely chosen to avoid that. And there are no expected issues with the mid-range driver due to the 45-degree angle that he chose for the cabinet. The cabinet variant here, the golden ebony high gloss, is not necessarily to my personal taste, but they also offer it in white or black. However, what is entirely to my liking is the craftsmanship here as well. Let's face it, we're talking about high-end speakers in the price ranges that are and likely will remain unaffordable to the majority of people now and in future. In this class, I expect nothing less than perfection. Haphazardly veneered with visible seam edges is definitely not found in that class, of course, but still there are differences. What I saw at the Audias booth definitely makes me eager for more. It was perfect. Now onto sound. The tracks were chosen by Dr. Weber himself, from the CD case into the esoteric CD player, through the esoteric preamp to the Pass Lab power amps. Unfortunately, and almost an unforgivable mistake, I didn't ask if I could choose a track myself. But I can say the selection of music was really excellent. A lot of jazz and vocals, but Kurt Cobain with Nirvana also made an appearance. Regardless of what was played, the Opera Grandeza effortlessly and calmly conjures up voices in the room that are simply impressive. So genuine, so natural, so calm yet precise and detailed. I have to admit, I've never heard anything like it before. I usually have high frequency whining, and I'm not a fan of scalpel-like attacks to my ears. Here, there weren't any hints of that. Despite the uncomfortable seating at the fair, I would have loved a good glass of red wine in hand and listening to music for hours in that room. Whether the speakers can do everything, I can't say. But what I heard was top notch. I see potential here for an absolute reference. I hope for the opportunity to thoroughly listen to the speaker with my own music. A test, of course, would be fantastic, but it's entirely unrealistic. We're talking about a 180,000 euro speaker, if I remember that correctly. Nonetheless, the Audias Opera Grandeza by far gets my Best of Show award for the HighEnd 2024. And as a bonus, Dr. Weber is also a really pleasant conversation partner. If you are in the Rosenheim area and you're looking for speakers in this league, you definitely should pay Audias a visit. And now the promised one more thing, the bonus on top, to make you smile a bit. At least it made me smile. I had a conversation about cables, and in this conversation I was pitched a little box that harmonizes the sound throughout the entire room. When I asked how it would work, I was told that it happens on a submolecular level and is distributed through the room via the power lines. My skepticism radar went off. Since I had little time at the fair, I didn't probe any further. But I was told to listen to it. It was supposedly in use in room XY by manufacturer ABC. So I went to that room. After a brief look around, I seriously found sound improving room spray. It was there in small pump spray bottles. Unfortunately, this is no joke. I always dismissed this as a forum hoax. I didn't believe that this would exist. I'm sorry, but my bullshit radar now was at maximum. I then immediately left without listening to the system. I have clear boundaries here and I'm not willing to compromise on them. Overall, HighEnd 2024 was very exciting. However, the days at the fair are also extremely exhausting because I wasn't just seeking for manufacturing contacts with manufacturers, but also wanted to report something to you. So I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, do me a favor, leave a thumbs up and also subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything, but it helps me to grow the channel and know that I can count on you for support. Especially in the English-speaking community, I have a very small audience so far, so I appreciate any English-speaking subscriber. And also, I have to ask you, were you at the HighEnd? What was your highlight? What impressed you? Write it in the comments. I look forward to an exchange and I will respond. I have no problem responding in English, so I will appreciate all of your comments. Thank you very much for listening. See you soon. Ciao.